Hi, guys. So, as Ryan and I are speaking about this bonding in a relationship and allowing ourselves to sink into meeting our person, um, the other piece to really consider is this: how do we pick up the cues from our person that they are reaching for us? Yeah. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing to be mindful of is kind of what not to do. I think culture, and I think sometimes our partners inadvertently send us a signal that I'm in trouble, which is a good thing to catch that signal, and you'll be valued if you come and fix it. But over and over and over, we see that not to be so true. So if my partner's in an emotional space, and I show up and I do practical, tactical fixes, it's a gesture, but it's usually a miss. It's not remembered 2 weeks after the fact. No one really cares, right? So I think the part that's really really key, going back to the word we've used over and over and over, is to number one, show up, because that's half the battle. My physical attention, my physical engagement is at least half the battle. And then just with a governing question, which is, where's your heart? Where's your heart? Where's your heart? Right? Which, a lot of women stereotypically use a lot of words, but aren't necessarily great about showing you their heart. It's not like women have this down either. We're all learning. And so one more sports analogy. I'm sorry. My favorite sports team last year were absolutely awful. Just one of the worst teams in the history of their sport. So they fired our coach. We brought in this new coach. And when the season rolled around, it's an instant turnaround. And I was listening to it being interviewed the other day, and he goes, "What was the key, coach?" And he goes, "I had to go get their heart." It wasn't that they didn't have talent. They had lost their heart. And so we just spent a lot of time with those guys, just really saying, "Hey, where's your heart? Where's your heart? Where's your heart?" And once we got the heart back online, it's like all of a sudden, hey, we're not that bad. In fact, we're pretty good. So I think that's a good governing question for a guy who really wants to understand how to be there for his partner, is to physically show up when they get a signal that their partner is not in such a good place, and stay with, where's your heart? Where's your heart? Where's your heart? If you got the heart and you can show up and just be a place of comfort, not many words are needed. Solutions typically aren't needed. From that connection, usually we'll spontaneously find the solutions, or we'll find we weren't even after solutions in the first place. Half the time something's wrong. What we really want is to know that we're there for them, and then there's connection.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love how you're saying this, Ryan. And it is so important. I think sometimes men can think that women are better, that we're talking from the heart, we're saying these things. But in conflict, actually, that female voice is distorted usually. And if a person is in distress, we're not conveying our message as truthfully. Generally, that's the problem, right? That's the breakdown. So as a listener, when your wife or your person is coming to you, part of how we can look for their heart is remember that our person has positive intention towards us, and our person has an intent towards us, a caregiver intent. There's a caring and a positive intention. Even if a woman is being critical or something, there's this love towards your partner, has love towards you. You made vows, you were determined to set out for a life together. But then there's raw moments, and it's hard for each of us to meet our person. So when your person is reaching for you, usually they're having a hard time. Usually they're having a hard time reaching for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's true. I think keep remembering that your partner has positive intentions is a really great thought. It's really really hard to do when the heat's on, So I think, but yeah, I mean, I see lots of women over the years. Again, sorry to use gender stereotypes, but it's common. And they'll be like, all he ever does is try to fix it. And I lovingly try to say, well, how did you send it across? Because if you're sending complaints across, then what you're going to get is a fixing answer. So if you want him to show up for your heart, you got to share the heart, right? And that is what neuroscience shows really really works. If I interview a couple and she says to me, We have all kinds of challenges, but here's what I know for sure. When I have a hard day, I let him see my pain, and he always shows up and comforts me. I don't have to hear a lot else because you'll never meet me. I've never had a couple who says that.
Right.
Because couples who can make that statement, they're able to figure the rest out. The
Yeah.
converse is also true, though. If that part of your relationship is blocked, you can't find enough solutions and techniques. So, when someone's complaining, if I'm trying to bond with my partner and they're continuing to send complaints across, that's where that question is so grounding. It's like, okay, I hear you. You're mad at me. I've hurt you. Where's your heart? Where's your heart? Where's your heart? If you can stay there and start there, you'll build back on a solid foundation. But if you start with the complaint level, you often never get to the heart. So you sort of don't get any points for showing up.
Yeah. Yeah. And the heart of the matter, that is really truthful. And as you're speaking, Ryan, I think that as emotionally focused therapists, what we're trying to help people is to see this, to see when we're getting in that complaint or that upper stuff. And any one of us can stop the cycle or try to stop it or slow it down. And the big thing is the question for me, the question for Ryan, the question for any of us, when we see that we're struggling and our person struggling, is how do I sink into my vulnerability? How do I sink into my heart? So if I can sink into my heart, the more I sink into my heart, the more I can tunnel in to figure out what is it that I do to ask more vulnerably or to hold space more vulnerably. And the more I do those things, the more my person can get used to me doing those things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the more you dig in and the more you get authentic and vulnerable, the more clear of a signal you put out to me.
Yeah.
And if I get a clear signal of where your heart is and that what you need is just some comfort for a few minutes, and
exactly.
that's pretty easy to meet. But if
Yeah.
you send me 17 messages, oftentimes that's a struggle. So where's your heart? Where's your heart? Where's your heart tends to be a good sort of orienting phrase for some guys.
Yeah, and I think so tying some of your pieces together as we went things down, it's like the idea, the image of the coach, your coach story. He wanted to get the guy's heart. You can't just say, give me your heart. It's that cultivating a space to hold their hearts. And then when we think about the team captain, I mean, the team captain usually is a guy that's leading by example. Mm-hmm. And in all of this, I think of like in Edmonton, our legend is Wayne Gretzky, the great one. And one of the big legacies that he left was his relationship with Joey Moss, who had Down syndrome, and he just passed away this year, Joey. But that is the picture that many Canadians and Albertans remember of Wayne Gretzky. Is he had heart and he shared it in this relationship and created this beautiful life for Joey that, he might not have had all the experiences that he did. Mm-hmm. And that's hard.
And that won't be quickly forgotten, will it?
No, that's legacy.
You bet. That's etched in the fabric of your society.
Yeah.
Because that's how deep those kind of things become.
Right.
But back to my coach, I'm loving this. This is sports EFT. We got to do a whole new thing. So back to my coach, when you interview our players about the turnaround, what they say is, we trust him. We know that he cares.
Yeah.
We trust him. We know that he cares. And in the intimate relationship, the way you really learn that someone cares is they show up when you're struggling. Mm-hmm. Right. So back to hockey for a moment, just understand that you would never stay on the bench when your team's being attacked.
Right.
When you see your partner hurting, show up. You don't have to get it just right. Just be there. And hey, where's the heart? Where's the heart? Where's the heart?